Now we'll see how can we define inverse Laplace transform. We have used inverse Laplace transform definition, right? X of t equals to 1 by 2 pi j integral sigma minus j omega to sigma plus j omega x of s e power st ds, right? Now we'll try and derive this definition, right? We have used this definition already in the properties of Laplace transform. Now f of s is defined as integral minus infinite to infinite f of t e power minus st dt. And what is s? S is a complex variable sigma plus j omega. So in place of s, I am substituting sigma plus j omega, right? Now I am separating the exponential term e power minus sigma t multiplied with e power minus j omega t. That is nothing but Fourier transform of f of t e power minus sigma t. We have seen this where the relationship between Fourier transform and Laplace transform, the first slides. Now I'm taking inverse Fourier transform on both sides. Now let me take inverse Fourier transform on both sides. What will happen? Sigma plus so inverse Fourier transform, if I take on both sides, this one will become, this is what Fourier transform of f of t e power minus sigma t. If I take inverse on this side, it will become inverse and inverse gets cancelled. I have f of t e power minus sigma t. That is equal to f inverse of f of sigma plus j omega. Now, in Fourier transform equation, the inverse Fourier transform equation, I'm going to substitute. What is the inverse Fourier transform equation? It is nothing but 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinite to plus infinite f of omega e power j omega t d omega. This is the formula for inverse Fourier transform. So instead of f of omega, now I have f of sigma plus j omega. That is what I have substituted, right? Now on both sides I am multiplying by e power sigma t, or simple way, this e power sigma t, I'll take it to the other side, right? If I take it to the other side, what will happen? 1 by 2 pi integration multiplied with e power sigma t. Now e power j omega t and e power sigma t, I am going to combine, right? I'm going to combine. What happens? E power sigma plus j omega into t. Now from omega, this is the variable omega. Sigma is a real part and this is the imaginary part, right? And my integration variable is omega, right? Sigma is nowhere concerned with my integration variable. Integration variable is omega. Now from omega, I'm going to change the entire variable to variable of integration to s. So from omega, I'm going to change it to s. Now sigma plus j omega equals to s, right? Sigma plus j omega equals to s. What happens to ds? If I differentiate this, I'll get 0 and j omega, right? Since omega is my variable of integration, I'll get j into d omega. So from this, I can write d omega equals to, what is d omega? It is equals to ds divided by j. And what will be my new limits? When s equals to minus infinity, what happens to omega? Sorry, when omega, sorry, here omega is equals to minus infinity, what happens to s? S becomes sigma minus j infinity, right? Sigma plus and sigma minus j infinity. These are my new limits. This is not j omega, this is j infinity. J infinity. J infinity. These are all infinity, j infinity. if I have previously told it is sigma plus j omega and sigma minus j omega, please correct it. It is, the limits are sigma minus j infinity to sigma plus j infinity. Right? So this is the formula for inverse Laplace transform. This is the formula for inverse Laplace transform. Now we'll find inverse Laplace transform for the given x of s. X of s is given as 2s plus 1 divided by s plus 2. So generally we will not use the Laplace transform expression we have derived just now to find inverse Laplace transform. We will use different methods. We either use the properties or we will use the partial fractions method. So what we'll do now is, here I'm going to draw it. I'm going to write this as 1. I'm going to write it as 4 minus 3. Right? Now I will write this as 2s plus 4 divided by s plus 2 minus 3 by s plus 2. Now here in the first term, if I take 2 common, what will I get? I'll get 2 into s plus 2 by s plus 2 minus 3 into 1 by s plus 2. Now s plus 2 and s plus 2 is cancelled. I have 2 minus 3 into 1 by s plus 2. This is my equation 1. I am considering this as equation 1. Now this is the standard Laplace transform pairs we know, right? The standard Laplace transform pairs that we know are e power minus a t u of t with Laplace transform 1 by s plus a and del of t with Laplace transform 1. So in place of a, if I substitute 2, what will happen? E power minus 2t u of t will have the Laplace transform 1 by s plus a. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to apply inverse Laplace transform on first equation. So on the left hand side, inverse Laplace transform of x of s is nothing but x of t. And on the right hand side, I have 2 into inverse Laplace of 1, right? 2 into 1. I can write this as 2 into 1, right? So 2 is my constant and I will find the inverse Laplace for 1 minus 3 is the constant. I will find inverse Laplace for 1 by s plus 2. That is nothing but inverse Laplace of 1. What is inverse Laplace of 1? Inverse Laplace of 1 is delta of t. And inverse Laplace of 1 by s plus a. In this case, it is a is 2. So that is e power minus 2t into u of t. So this is my inverse Laplace transform. That is how I can find the inverse Laplace transform. Now using partial fractions, what I can do, right? Using partial fractions. So partial fractions means whatever I have. So first before applying partial fractions, what we should look at is the degree of the numerator must be lower than denominator polynomial, right? The numerator degree must always be less than the denominator degree, right? If we have s divided by s square minus 2s plus 4, then we can apply partial fractions, right? But if we have s square in the numerator term or s cube in the numerator term, what does that mean? The degree of the numerator is 3 and the degree of the denominator is 2, right? The highest degree, right? So the numerator degree is greater than that of denominator. We can't apply partial fractions. Even if it is equal to the numerator of denominator, even if the both degrees of numerator and denominator are equal, even then I cannot use partial fractions. I can't use partial fractions. Only when the degree of the numerator is less than the degree of the denominator, I can use partial fractions. So if this is my f of s, I have some numerator and in the denominator I have multiple poles, right? S minus P naught, S minus P1, S minus P2. These are my roots or poles. Now in this case, first I'm considering only real roots, right? Real roots. I can write it as A naught by S minus P naught plus A1 by S minus P1 plus A2 by S minus P2. How many ever poles I have, that many terms I will get in my f of s. Now I have to find the values of A0, A1, A2. You can either use these formulas I have specified here, or you can cross multiply and equate and compare the coefficients of the corresponding terms, coefficient of s square and coefficients of s and constant coefficients. You can compare them and you can find the constants, right? Similar to what we have done in Fourier and DTFT, continuous time Fourier transform and discrete time Fourier transform. So here, if you have to find the constants A0, A1, A2 using these formulas, it will be very fast and simple. So these are the formulas to find A0. To find the constant relating to any particular pole, what we will do is we'll multiply f of s with that particular pole, right? F of s will multiply it with s minus p naught, right? We multiply it with s minus p naught, and in place of s we will substitute p naught. In place of s we will substitute p naught. Then we will arrive at a naught. Similar to a1, if you have to find a1, we'll multiply f of s with s minus p1, and for the result we will substitute s is equals to p1, right? S equals to p1. Like that, for any number of terms we can do it. This is for simple and real roots. Now if we have some complex root, what will happen? So let me assume this is my complex root. S is equals to a minus j beta and s is equals to a plus j beta. These are the two complex roots. So if I want to get my first constant, what I'm going to do, f of s I'll multiply with whatever the complex root I'm considering here, and for the result I will replace s is equals to alpha minus j beta, right? Alpha minus j beta. So basically what I'm doing, this term I'm equating it to 0, the denominator I'm equating it to 0. I'll get s is equals to alpha minus j beta, that I'm substituting, right? Similarly for a2. When there are multiple terms or multiple roots, suppose I have my f of s is equals to 1 by 1 by s minus 2 whole square, right? So that means I have two poles. At s is equals to 2, right? Then what will I do? So this is the formula for that. So how will I write? I'll write a naught by s minus in this case, let us say s minus 2, right? So I'll write this as a naught divided by s minus 2 whole square. So let me write this as some other term, s plus 2, right? S plus 2. So this one I'll write as a naught by s minus 2 whole square plus a1 s minus 2 whole power 1 and so on, right? Till my degree of the denominator is 1, I will write it, right? If I have cube here, then this will be cube and this will be square, and I'll get one more term, a2 s minus 2 a2 divided by s minus 2, right? So the greater the degree of the polynomial, more terms I will get, right? How much is the degree here? Those many terms I'll get 1, 2, 3. 3 is the degree, so I got 3 terms, right? And this is the formula we will have for multiple roots. So we'll look at a few problems. X of s is equals to 2 divided by s into s plus 1 into s plus 2. Now I will apply partial fractions. So I have three different roots: s equals to 0, s equals to minus 1, and s equals to minus 2. So this one I will write as a by s plus b by s plus 1 plus c by s plus 2. Right? Three different roots: s, s plus 1, s plus 2. So for each of them I have separated. Now I'll calculate a, b, and c. Right? So what do I have to do to calculate a? X of s I'll multiply with s, and for the result I'll substitute s equals to 0. So if I multiply this with s, I'll get this. S and s will get cancelled. 2 divided by s plus 1 plus s plus 1 into s plus 2. And I substitute s equals to 0, I will get 2 by 2. That is 1. Right? Similarly for b and c. So b I'll get minus 2 and c I'll get 1. So these three values of a, b, and c I will substitute in equation 1. So now my new x of s will be equals to 1 by s minus 2 by s plus 1 plus 1 by s plus 2. For this, now I'll find the inverse Laplace transform. So what are the different standard pairs that we know? U of t is 1 by s. The Laplace transform of u of t is 1 by s, and e power minus a to u of t has Laplace transform 1 by s plus a. From this, I can take the inverse Laplace transform for second equation, and I will arrive at x of t equals to, for the first term, inverse is u of t, and for the second term, if I take two constant, I have 1 by s plus 1. The inverse Laplace transform of 1 by s plus 1 is, in place of a, I substitute 1, that is e power minus t into u of t. And for the third term, I have a is equals to 2, that is e power minus 2t into u of t. So this is how I will find inverse Laplace transform using partial fractions. Right? Partial fractions. Here I am just taking u of t common and writing the final answer. Now we look at a different problem, very similar to the previous problem. The only difference is in the denominator I have s plus 2 whole square. Right? Now I have how many roots here? S is equals to 0 is a root, s is equals to minus 1 is a root, and s is equals to minus 2 is a root, but there is a square here. That means there are two roots at minus 2, two poles at minus 2. So in total there are 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 poles. In total there are 4 poles. So I'll write x of s as 4 different terms: a by s plus b by s plus 1 plus c by s plus 2 whole square plus d by s plus 2. Now I will calculate the values of a, b, c and d. If I have to calculate c, I will multiply x of s with s plus 2 whole square and substitute s is equals to minus 2. To calculate d, what I'll do is, this term here, whatever I used for calculating c, I will differentiate it with respect to s and substitute s is equals to minus 2. Right? I'll substitute s equals to minus 2. So if I differentiate and substitute, these are the values of a, b, c and d. Now I'll substitute the values of a, b, c and d in the equation 1. So this is what I will get after substituting values of a, b, c and d. Now we'll look at what are the standard Fourier transform, Laplace transform pairs that we have in this form, right? So now we know u of t has a Laplace transform 1 by s, then e power minus at into u of t as the Laplace transform 1 by s plus a, right? These two we know. So this form is covered in this, and this is also covered in this. The first term is covered here. Now we have 1 by s plus 2 whole square. So what can we do here for this second term? If I apply differentiation in frequency or differentiation in S domain, right? What happens? What does differentiation in S domain state? Minus t into f of t as a Fourier transform d by ds of f of, sorry, Laplace transform d by ds of f of s. So if I do d by ds of f of s here, I have s plus a whole square in the denominator, and in the numerator s plus a into differentiation of 1 is 0 minus 1 into differentiation of s plus a. Differentiation of s is 1, right? Differentiation of s is 1, right? So this is nothing but minus 1 by s plus a whole square. And what is the corresponding time function? Time function is minus t into e power minus at minus t into e power minus at into u of t. So minus minus I can cancel. So now 1 by s plus a whole square form I have in my Laplace transform. I have the corresponding time domain signals also. Now these are the three Laplace transform pairs I am going to use to find my inverse Laplace transform. So if I apply inverse Laplace transform to the second equation, the first term becomes 0.5 is a constant, and inverse Laplace transform of 1 by s is u of t, and for the second term minus 2 is a constant, and inverse Laplace will give me e power minus t into u of t. For the third term I have t into e power minus 2t into u of t, and for the fourth term I have 3 by 2 e power minus t 2t into u of t. So I am taking u of t common and writing this as a common term. So this is how I can find the inverse Laplace transform. Now I have to find the inverse Laplace transform of this given function. So what I'm going to do is I am going to write it as this first term I can factorize s plus 1 and s plus 2. The third term I cannot factorize, right? I can't factorize this third term. So what I'm going to do is for the third term I'm going to write it as cs plus d, right? This is of second order, so I'll write it as cs plus d. Now if I cross multiply and equate the coefficients, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the LCM here and equate this numerator to this numerator, and I'll equate the coefficients of s square, s, and constants to find the I'll equate the coefficients and find the values of a, b, c, and d, right? So this is how I'll find the values of a, b, c, and d. So after finding the values of a, b, c, and d, I am substituting in the whatever expression I had previously for x of s. Now for these two terms we can use the transform pair e power minus at u of t as the Laplace transform 1 by s plus a. For this term what can I do? So instead of 1 I am going to write it as minus 3 plus 4, right? Instead of 1 I'll write this. Now this I'll make as one term and this I'll take it as the other term, right? I have taken, and here I took minus common, so 3s plus 3. 3 also I can take it as common. So if I take 3 also common, what will happen? S plus 1 divided by S plus 1 whole square plus 2 square. Here 2, if I take it as a constant, I am left with 2, right? 2 by S plus 1 whole square plus 2 square. So what are these two terms reminding you of? They must remind you of Laplace transform of cos and sin omega naught t when they are multiplied with e power minus at u of t. These are the three Laplace transform pairs that we are going to use to find the inverse Laplace transform in this problem, right? Now, if we apply inverse Laplace transform to the equation, this is what we have, right? Inverse Laplace transform of x of s, that is x of t. Now it is equals to 2 into e power, right? 2 into e power. When a is 1, I have minus t u of t, right? Plus here e power a is 2, right? So minus 2 u of t minus 3 into, what is this? S plus a divided by s plus a whole square plus omega naught square. So what is this inverse Laplace of that? It is e power minus at cos omega naught t u of t. So e power, instead of a we have 1. So e power minus t cos omega naught is 2. So cos 2t u of t, right? Plus 2 into, this is for e power minus at sin omega naught t into u of t. So now what I can do, I can take u of t common in all of these terms and write, right? I can take u of t common in all of these terms and write it as this equation. This is my inverse Laplace transform. That is my inverse Laplace transform. This is similar to what we have done just now. So I'm not going to discuss this completely. You can refer and understand this. Now, find the inverse Laplace transform using convolution theorem. So what does convolution theorem say? Convolution in time domain is multiplication in frequency domain. That is what it states. Now, x of s is given as 1 by s square into s square minus s square. So now I am writing it as 1 by s square multiplied with 1 by s square minus s square. So if I apply inverse Laplace transform on both sides, I'll get x of t is Laplace inverse of 1 by s square, right? What is this? Is nothing but multiplication in s domain. Now, what is the inverse Laplace of this? This is f1 of t convolved with f2 of t. What is f1 of t? F1 of t is Laplace inverse of f1 of s. This is my f1 of s. That is convolved with f2 of t. That is convolved with f2 of t. Right? So Laplace inverse of 1 by s square minus a square. Now here I am multiplying it with a and dividing it with a. A is a constant, right? I can do that. Now Laplace inverse of 1 by s square is nothing but t into u of t, ramp function, right? That is Laplace inverse of 1 minus 1 by s square, and the second Laplace inverse is nothing but sin h. This is the another Laplace transform pair, sin h at into u of t, right? Sin h at into u of t. If you remember, we have seen a table of Laplace transforms. In that we have sin h at, Laplace transform of sin h at. So that is the inverse Laplace transform, the convolution of two signals. Now what I am doing here is I am applying the convolution integral. Integral 0 to So here I'm applying the convolution integral and integrating it in the form, since it is in the form of u dv, I'm integrating with the formula uv minus integral v du. So this is how I will arrive at the final answer. This is the final answer, right? Now we'll continue finding inverse Laplace transforms. So far we have found out inverse Laplace transforms when only x of s was given, only when the Laplace transform was given without any ROC. The ROC was not specified. Only in that case we found out inverse Laplace transform. When there is no ROC specified, we assumed the given signal is causal signal, right? In the previous slides, if you look, whatever Laplace transform was given, for that, when we found out the inverse Laplace transform, the result was a causal signal. That is, we assumed our signal is a causal signal, right? Now we are going to find inverse Laplace transform when the ROC is specified. Now the question is, find the inverse Laplace transform when x of s is equals to 4 by s plus 2 into s plus 4, and we have three different ROCs specified, right? If you look at the poles for x of s, what are the poles for x of s? When the denominator is 0, that is s plus 2 equals to 0, or s plus 4 equals to 0, right? That means s equals to minus 2 and s equals to minus 4. So these are the poles of my Laplace transform x of s. So the poles are minus 2 and minus 4. So if you remember the properties of ROC, what does it state? One of the properties states that the ROC is either bounded by poles or extends to infinity, right? So if my poles are minus 2 and minus 4, what are the three different, how many types of ROCs can we get? We can get three different kinds of ROCs, but one of them is it must be greater than minus 2. This is one kind of ROC. The other kind of ROC will be this is minus 2, this is 0, and this is minus 4. The second kind will be less than minus 4, right? Because it has to be either bounded by poles or it should extend to infinity, right? That is why we are getting these two types of ROCs. And the third type of ROC is going to be this is 0, and this is minus 2, and this is minus 4, is going to be bounded by the poles in between minus 4 and minus 2. So these are the three types of ROCs for the given Laplace transform, right? So we have to find the inverse Laplace transform for each of these different kinds of ROCs. We need to find the inverse Laplace transform. So let us start finding the inverse Laplace transform. First, x of s is equals to 4 by s plus 2 into s plus 4. Now, what is the first step I'm going to do? I'm going to convert this into partial fractions, right? Partial fractions, a by s plus 2 plus b by s plus 4. Now I'll solve for a and B. How will I solve for A and B? I can use the formula. What is the formula for A? A is equals to x of s multiplied with s plus 2, right? Because we have distinct and real roots, right? Multiplied with s plus 2, and in the result you have to substitute what we should substitute. S is equals to minus 2. How will you get s is equals to minus 2 here? This term s plus 2, I will equate it to 0 and find the value of s, right? So if I calculate what is my x of s into s plus 2, this s plus 2, if I take it here, it is nothing but x of s into s plus 2. So that is going to be 4 by s plus 4. So if I substitute s is equals to minus 2, what is my a? 4 divided by 4 minus 2, that is 4 divided by 2, that is 2, right? 2 is my value of a. Similarly, I'll find b. For b, I'll multiply x of s into x of s with s plus 4, and in place of s, I'll substitute minus 4, right? Then I will have b is equals to minus 2. So I have found out a value and b value. I'll substitute these in equation 1, right? What will I get? I'll get 2 by s plus 2. B is negative 2, so minus 2 by s plus 4. So this is my simplified version of Laplace transform that is given in the question, right? Now, first case. We'll take the first case. We'll consider the first case. What is the first case? What is the ROC given? My ROC is in between minus 2 and minus 4. That is the first ROC. Let me draw my ROC here. Right, this is 0. Minus 2 is somewhere over here, and minus 4 is somewhere over here. So my ROC is in between minus 4 and minus 2. So this is my ROC. This is my ROC. The red region is my ROC. Right? This is sigma and this is j omega. My x-axis is sigma and the y-axis is j omega. This is my ROC. So from this ROC, what can I say? My sigma is greater than minus 4, right? And sigma is less than minus 2, right? I'm splitting this inequality into two different inequalities. The first inequality is sigma is greater than minus 4, and the second inequality is sigma is less than minus 2, right? Now, this first term here in my x of s, what is the first term? It is corresponding to a pole of s is equals to minus 2. That means it is corresponding to this ROC, right? The first term is corresponding to this ROC, and the second term that is 2 into s 2 divided by s plus 4, it is corresponding to pole of minus 4, that is corresponding to this ROC, right? So this ROC is corresponding to the second term, and this ROC in blue color is corresponding to the first term. Now, to find the inverse Laplace transform, what am I going to do? I am going to apply inverse Laplace transform on both sides for this x of s. So inverse Laplace transform, let me write Laplace inverse of x of s. Laplace inverse of x of s is equals to 2 multiplied with Laplace inverse of 1 by s plus 2, 1 by s plus 2 minus 2 multiplied with Laplace inverse of 1 by s plus 4. 1 by s plus 4. Now, we have an equation. We have the Laplace transform pairs, right? The standard Laplace transform pairs. Let us see what are the standard Laplace transform pairs. One of the standard Laplace transform pairs is e power minus at u of t. E power minus at u of t has a Laplace transform 1 by s plus a, right? 1 by s plus a. And what was the ROC? The ROC is sigma greater than minus a. This is the ROC, right? Sigma greater than minus a. If you substitute a is equals to 2, what happens? A is equal, okay, let us substitute a is equals to 4. We'll substitute a is equals to 4. Then e power minus 4t u of t, right? E power minus 4t u of t has the Laplace transform 1 by s plus 4, right? 1 by s plus 4, and ROC is sigma greater than minus 4. ROC is sigma greater than minus 4. So if you look at one of the ROC here, sigma is greater than minus 4, right? This part, sigma is greater than minus 4. So with this ROC, and if this is the Laplace transform here, the inverse is e power minus 4t u of t. Now let us try and substitute a is equals to 2. If I substitute a is equals to 2, what will I get? E power minus 2 into u of t has the Laplace transform 1 by s plus 2, right? And the ROC is sigma greater than minus 2. The ROC is sigma greater than minus 2. Sigma greater than minus 2. Now, do we have the ROC sigma greater than minus 2 specified in this case 1? In the first case, sigma greater than minus 2 is not specified. This is wrong. We have sigma less than minus 2. So I can't use this Laplace transform pair for my first term. For the first term, I can't use it. I need to have my ROC less than certain number. So what is the corresponding ROC? What is the corresponding Laplace transform pair with ROC less than certain number? That is going to be e power, okay, negative e power minus at, negative e power minus at into u of minus t. What is the Laplace transform of this? The Laplace transform is 1 by s plus a, 1 by s plus a, and sigma, the ROC is less than minus a, right? This is one more Laplace transform pair. This is the left-sided signal. This is the left-sided signal, and this one here is the right-sided signal. So if I substitute a equals to 2 here, what happens? I'll get e power minus 2t u of minus t as the Laplace transform 1 by s plus 2, 1 by s plus 2, and sigma is less than minus 2, right? So for 1 by s plus 2, I have a inverse Laplace transform on my left hand side, and the corresponding ROC sigma is less than minus 2. This is similar to the specified ROC here in the case 1. So for the first term, I have to use this Laplace transform pair, minus e power minus at u of minus t has a Laplace transform 1 by s plus a with a ROC of sigma less than minus a. And for the second term, I'm going to use the right-sided signal, right-sided signal, right? This is how I have to find the inverse Laplace of x of s. Now x of s, inverse of x of s is x of t, right? X of t, that is equal to, for the first term I have 2 as my coefficient, and then Laplace inverse of s plus 2. I can't use this Laplace inverse. I'm going to use the Laplace inverse that is shown in this equation. What is the Laplace inverse? E power or negative e power minus 2t u of minus t u of minus t, and for the second term I have a negative sign and a constant 2, and for 1 by s plus 4, what is the Laplace inverse? E power minus 4t 4t u of t, e power minus 4t u of t, right? Now let me erase this stuff here. So that is my final answer for case 1, right? Case 1 is closed here, right? So what did we do? We have splitted this ROC, whatever the ROC was given, we split that into two different parts, right? So one is sigma greater than minus 4 and the other one is sigma less than minus 2. So we had two terms in the Laplace transform, and we corresponded each of the ROC with one of the terms based on the pole in each of the term, right? If the pole is minus 2, then we corresponded that term with the ROC sigma less than minus 2. For the other term, the other ROC. Then we have looked at the standard transform pairs in Laplace transform along with their ROCs. Now since here ROC is greater than a certain number, we are only going to use this Laplace transform pair for the second term, since the ROC for the second term is greater than minus 4. For the first term, since ROC is less than minus 2, we have used a corresponding Laplace transform pair which has ROC less than minus a, right? That is how we have done. The other method is without looking at all these things, we will just directly write the transform. How? So we know one pole is minus 2 and the other pole is minus 4, right? One pole is minus 2 and other pole is minus 4, and the ROC is between these two poles. Now if you look at the graph, the ROC is towards the right of minus 4, towards the right of pole minus 4, right? Here I have a pole at minus 4 and pole at minus 2. My ROC is towards the right of pole minus 4. So for the term with pole minus 4, the ROC is towards right. That means this is going to be my right-sided signal or causal signal. This is going to be my right-sided signal or a causal signal. Now, if you look at the other term, it has a pole of minus 2. So this is the pole of minus 2, and my ROC is towards the left of the pole, right? ROC is towards the left of minus 2. So since it is left of minus 2, this signal is going to be left-sided signal or anti-causal, right? Left-sided signal or anti-causal. So since the first term is anti-causal, then I have to use a and left-sided signal as my x of t, right? This is anti-causal, so my x of t is also anti-causal. So then since this is causal, so my right-sided signal is, sorry, my inverse transform x of t is causal signal. Since the first term is anti-causal, what I'm going to write is 2 is the constant that I have, and 1 by s plus 2 is my Laplace transform. The anti-causal x of t that gives my transform as 1 by s plus a is minus e power minus at into u of minus t, right? This is the anti-causal or the left side signal that gives the Laplace transform 1 by s plus a and 1 by s plus a, right? So for the first term, I'm going to write 2 as it is, and since a is equals to 2, I'll write minus e power minus 2t u of minus t. And for the second signal, I have a negative 2 as my constant and 1 by s plus 4 as the Laplace transform. I need a causal signal that has a Laplace transform of 1 by s plus 4. What is the causal signal that has a Laplace transform 1 by s plus 4? It is e power minus at u of t, right-sided signal. I need a right-sided signal, so it is u of t and e power minus at. So that is how I get e power minus 4t u of t. You can approach any way. Both ways are absolutely correct. No problems in finding the inverse Laplace transform. This is for the first case. Now similarly, we'll do for the second case. In the second case, what is given? My ROC is less than minus 4, less than minus 4, somewhere like this. So if my ROC is left of the leftmost pole, I have two poles, right? At 4 and minus 2, I have two poles. If my ROC is less than the leftmost pole, or if the ROC is left of the leftmost pole, what can I say? I can say the signal is left-sided signal. The signal is left-sided signal. That is what I can say. What do you mean by left-sided signal? Left-sided signal means it is anti-causal. That means in my output or in the inverse Laplace transform, I will see u of minus t. I will not see u of t. I will see u of minus t. Right? So my x of t, what will it look like? For the first term, 2 is a constant, and the left-sided signal of 1 by s plus 2, right? Inverse Laplace transform of 1 by s plus 2 when the signal is anti-causal. That is e power minus 2t multiplied by a negative sign into u of minus t, right? This is my left-sided signal, and I have negative 2 as a constant in the second term, and the left-sided signal for 1 by s plus 4 is now going to be negative, right? Again, there's a negative sign. When I multiply minus with minus, it becomes plus and u of minus t. So this is how I'll get my x of t when my ROC is sigma less than minus 4. Sigma less than minus 4. Now the last case is sigma is greater than minus 2. So this is minus 2 and this is minus 4. Now since my sigma is greater than minus 2, this is my ROC. This is my ROC. So if this is my ROC, what can I say? My ROC is right of rightmost pole, right? Right of the rightmost pole. So my ROC is going to be, or my x of t is going to be a right-sided signal. That x of t is going to be a right-sided signal or a causal signal. Right-sided signal means nothing but a causal signal, right? Now, in the previous case, it was anti-causal. That is why we got u of minus t and a negative sign, right? Since it was anti-causal, I got a u of minus t term and a negative sign. Now, since it is causal, I'll have u of t and I will not have a negative sign. So what will be my x of t? X of t is going to be, for the first term here, 2 is a constant, right? 2 is a constant. X of t is equals to 2 is a constant, and the inverse Laplace transform of 1 by s plus 2 is going to be, since it is causal, it is going to be e power minus 2t into u of t, right? Into u of t. For the second term, there is a minus sign and 2 constant, and the causal signal for uh, causal signal for a Laplace transform of 1 by s plus 4 is now going to be e power minus 4t into u of t, e power minus 4t into u of t. So that is the causal x of t, right? Since if you observe here, this is a and the ROC is between two lines. The first case, the ROC is between two lines. ROC is between two lines means the signal is two-sided signal. So this is the anti-causal part because it has u of minus t, and this is the causal part which has u of t, right? Since the signal is two-sided signal, it will consist of both anti-causal and causal terms. Now in the second case, it is less than minus 4. That means the signal is anti-causal. So we will not have any u of t terms. We will only have u of minus t terms. Right? U of minus t terms. In the third case, it is greater than minus 2. The ROC is greater than minus 2. So it is causal. Since it is causal, we will only have u of t terms. We will not have u of minus t. U of minus t will not be there. So this is how we will find the inverse Laplace transform when the ROC is specified. What did we do? We have derived the partial fractions x of s in terms of partial fractions, right? And then we have considered the ROC. Based on the ROC, we have decided whether the inverse Laplace transform x of t is going to be a two-sided signal or an anti-causal signal or a causal signal, right? If it's a two-sided signal or right-sided signal or left-sided signal. So if it's a left-sided signal, I'm going to apply uh, left-sided signal. I'm going to apply a different Laplace transform pair, that is e power minus at u of minus t multiplied by a negative sign. If it's a right-sided signal, I'm going to multiply e power minus at into u of t, the Laplace transforms. So that is how I will find the inverse Laplace transform.